All right, everybody. So we are going to be going over some poetry terms, and these are going to help you when you're reading the poems this week. And so this is your complete guide to poetry and figurative language. So what is poetry? Think about what is poetry to you. What things actually make poetry poetry, and what's the purpose of it? So think about some poems that you already know. And let's see, what actually is a poem? So, a poem is a piece of writing used to express emotions, experiences, and images in an imaginative way. So, a lot of times, things will not just come out and say, the literal meaning, like your shirt is black. A poem is going to say it like your shirt's the color of the night sky. So it's a very imaginative way of saying something. So instead of just saying something ordinary, we're going to go about it in an extraordinary way. All right, so stanzas. Stanzas are groups of lines within a poem. So if you see here, you've got one stanza, these are grouped together, versus this one has two stanzas because we have this first one here and this one on the bottom. Go ahead, count how many this one has. And if you said 3, you are correct. So here's 1. This would be stanza 1, stanza 2, and stanza 3. All right, rhyme. If you have that repetition of similar sounding words at the end of the line of your poem, then that is showing that that has rhyme. And rhyme scheme is the actual pattern of those. So if you look at this example, the life of a cupcake, go ahead and pause it and read. And then let's look at these rhyming words. So here you have bake, cake, bubble, trouble, life, knife, jewels, fools, wrapper, her, inside, die. So here, if you notice, these two were given the letter A. So we're going to start at the beginning of the alphabet and we're going to find things that rhyme. So within this one stanza, we have bake and cake that rhyme. So they're going to be sharing the letter A. And then we have bubble, trouble. So these are going to be given the letter B. And then here we're starting a new stanza. So we're going to start over. Life and knife. So those both rhyme. So they're going to be given A. And then jewels and fools. So if you notice all throughout, the 3 stanzas all have that A, B, B pattern. All right, dreams, go ahead and stop and read that. All right, here on this one, we're going to go again through the alphabet, and we've got A. Now the next one is B because nothing in these 2 lines, dreams and die, don't have that same N sound, so these don't rhyme. So they're going to be given different letters. And then if you notice, dreams, die, bird, nothing rhymes. So we're going through the alphabet, A, B, C. But then when we get here, it says that cannot fly. Well, fly rhymes with die. So since the word die, this line was given the letter B, then we're going to repeat that because these are rhyming words. So this one has an A, B, C, B pattern, and it does the same thing here, A, B, C, B. All right, figurative language. So with figurative language, we are using imaginative language that expresses the feeling or message of your words. So these are things that are not literal. So similes. If you are using a simile, you're making a comparison. So you're comparing 2 things and you're using words like or as. So again, these are not literal. So life is like a box of chocolates. Notice you're making a comparison with life and chocolates and you're using the word like. So when I go through these, think about what, why would the author of the poem or why would somebody say life is like a box of chocolates? And so, maybe they're talking about how, like when you get a box of chocolates, they may all look similar, but when you bite into them, they have different flavors and different fillings, and maybe some have nuts, and you just never really know what you're going to expect. So life is kind of the same way. You don't ever know what's going to happen. And so they're making a comparison with life and a box of chocolates, and it's in order to make a point about life. And so, since they're using the word like, this is an example of a simile. All right, living in Alaska is like living in an igloo. So stop the video and go ahead and think, what does it mean when they say living in Alaska is like living in an igloo? She's as blind as a bat. Go ahead and do the same thing. All right, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. So there's another example of a simile. All right, base stealer, go ahead and read this and pause, and I want you finding those examples. All right, here you go. All right, metaphor. So a metaphor is very similar to a simile. They're both using two different things, or they're both comparing two different things. But in a metaphor, you are not using like or as. So these are just going to come out and say it. But again, we're not giving a literal meaning. So go ahead, pause, read this poem called Dreams. And if you notice, it says life is a broken winged bird. It doesn't say life is like a broken winged bird. If it did, then that would be an example of a simile. But because it just says life is a broken winged bird, it is a metaphor. All right, personification. Notice how personification has this word person. So here we're giving human-like characteristics to non-human things. So personification, look at that word person and that can help you or that can help to remind you that these are human-like characteristics. So think about things that humans do. We sing, we dance, we talk, we sway, all the things that we do. When we give these things to non-human things, that's an example of personification. So it's often used to describe things in nature. So here, let's look at this. I wandered lonely as a cloud. So notice it was dancing in the breeze. Um, golden daffodils were dancing. Well, they weren't actually dancing. It's just describing how they were moving. All right, go ahead and pause and read this. And here's some examples of some personification. So they crawled, they pranced, they partied, they sang, they strike again. Again, these are examples of human-like qualities given to non-human things. Here's a poem called Friends. Go ahead and pause and read this. All right, the sky is like a big kind smile. Here we're using the word like, so this is also an example of a simile. And so here, things like the sunshine is kissing me upon the face. Oh, here's another example of a simile. All right, so the sun is not actually kissing you. It just means you're starting to get sunburned. All right, so we're going to skip that part. All right, idiom. All right, again, these are not literal. So it's a saying that does not mean what it says. So these are fun. I like reading these. So it's raining cats and dogs doesn't actually mean that cats and dogs are falling from the sky. It just means it's raining really, really heavily. So think about why an author might use this. Somebody could say it's raining. But if they say it's raining cats and dogs, then that just is telling you how much it's raining. Like it's not just raining, it's raining a ton. All right, so you can go to this website. I'll post the slides on Google Classroom, and you can click, and there's a whole list of different idioms that you can read. And if you'd like to pick one, um, write it down in your reading journal, and then I want you to write out like what the idiom is, and then draw it like they did on this one, where you can make a picture where it's actually raining cats and dogs. So pick one other than this one and show what it would mean if it was actually, you know, the literal meaning of that. All right, onomatopoeia. These are words that show sounds like boom and bam. So here's a poem called Mom and Dad Are Home. So go ahead and pause, read this, and as you're reading, look for those sound words. All right, so we have things like slam and thump and squeak. So these, when you say the word, that's the sound that they make. All right, here's another example, bells. So go ahead and pause. All right, here's those. Automatopoeia. Here's one called fossils. Go ahead and pause and read. There's those clatter, rattling sound words. Right. Symbolism. A figure of speech where an object, person, or situation has another meaning other than its literal meaning. Symbolism can give literary work more richness and color and can make the meaning of the work deeper. So here's a poem called Dreams. So again, we're not, we're giving, we're saying life is like a broken winged bird. And again, that goes back to what we first said about doing things in extraordinary ways. Like, what do you think it means? Life is a broken winged bird. Life is a barren field. So why not just come out and say it? The author is going to go in kind of a roundabout way and get you thinking, okay, what could that mean? Here's another one. Go ahead and read. All right. Next up is alliteration. All right. Alliteration is repeated sounds at the beginning of words. So big baboons bounce down the boulevard. Notice you have B, 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 B. So when you have that repetition of that same letter, then those are examples of alliteration. Here's another one called tigers. Go ahead and pause the video and watch this one or read this one. All right, here's another. All right, notice on this, in each of the line, or not every line, but in some of the lines, you've got C, C, F, F, N, N, S, S. All right, so can you think of some names that might have alliteration? So on that same page, or if you need to go to another one in your reading journal, can you come up with some names that would be examples of alliteration? So write down the word alliteration and then come up with some names like Sally, Sue, Silverman, maybe Bella, boppity boo. I don't know. Something you can make them silly if you want. All right, hyperbole. So these are big, extreme exaggerations, and it's used to make a point. So again, this is not literal. So you're not actually going to eat a horse. You're just so hungry. You say, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse, meaning you're not just hungry, you are really, really, really hungry. Her brain is the size of a pea. So think about what that might mean. I have a million things to do. Notice you don't actually have a million things to do. You just have a whole lot. So here are some common examples of things, and just think about, what's the point that they're trying to make. So when it says, the new car cost $1 bazillion, well, no, but what are they trying to say? So go through each one and think about that. And here we have some examples of similes and idioms. All right, here's one called appetite. Go ahead and pause and find those examples. There was quite a few. So think about again, why would they be saying the house is the size of a postage stamp? What are they saying about the house? Remember, we're doing things in extraordinary ways. So we're not just going to say the house is small. We're going to make it fun and say it's the size of a postage stamp. All right, here's an example called a poem called My Dog. So there's several in here. Go ahead and find those. And then next up, repetition. So when things are repeated, it could be in a line, it could be a phrase or a word. It's doing that to give emphasis. So it's showing you that, hey, like this is important. You need to pay attention to it. So read this poem to take each day as it comes and find that repetition and think about why would it be there? Why are we saying the same thing at the beginning and the end, beginning and the end, beginning and the end? Why on every single stanza? So stanza 1, stanza 2, stanza 3. Why do you think they're repeating that? All right, next one is called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. So go ahead and pause and read this one and look for that repetition. There you go. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. All right, here's some famous poems you can pause and read. All right, so like I said, these are going to be, the vocabulary words that we went to, or that we went through: repetition, hyperbole, alliteration, symbolism, onomatopoeia, idiom, personification, metaphor, simile, figurative language, rhyme, stanzas, poems. Make sure if there's any of those that you need to go back over, that you go back over and you pay close attention to what those things mean. The couple things that I asked you to put in your reading notebook, please make sure that you are adding those in, and you can use this as a reference for, as we're going through this week. If there's a word that comes up that you've forgotten what it means, just come back to this video and you will have it. All right, thanks for watching.